Hi all, welcome to the Marquee Matchups for the 31st of March. Plenty of routes to cover for this week and a lot of interesting potential routes that we could expect. So we can smash likes, be awesome, sub to the channel if you're new, follow me on Twitter at GsLegend. All the links are down below for playlists in the channel and social media links as always. All these routes will be I'm featuring. I'm not going to cover an extra routes video, I feel, because we've got enough routes to cover for this week. But hopefully you find this useful and let's jump in. So Vitesse versus Neck need Jimmy or how you pronounce it, is the first route this week. Expect one player from both teams, 11 from the Eredivisie, 4 rare players minimum, 5 nations. I'm going to say 73 overall rating, mainly because the league is relatively easy to get a high enough rating. Get away with 3 bronzes, 3 silvers, and then a few bronzes to cover your back, a few golds even, sorry, to cover your back. In terms of likelihood, I am giving this a 5 out of 10. There is too many strong routes this week, especially with one league returning back, and also with some of the teams featured are a bit weaker on this instance, and this is one of these weaker options. Palermo versus Cagliari is the Islands derby. I think both teams are obviously island, separated islands as it were, within Italy, and it's just one of these island derbies as it were. But this didn't feature the last time when it had a really good chance, and this time it's in I feel, in my opinion, a weaker chance, and it just won't be featured. But still, one play from both teams, 11 from the Calcio, 5 rares, 5 nations minimum, 78 overall rating, 68k for cost, 5 out of 10 with a 46k reward. Maybe 10k pack the jumbo golds or a 15k pack being the jumbo premiums. It's hard to say what they would give for the reward. Bologna Fiorentina, another strong shout. This is kind of deemed a big derby in Italy. You need one from both teams, 11 from the league, 5 rares, 5 nations, maybe even so many clubs as well, or so many Italian players. 78 overall, 68k for cost, 46k reward, and a 5 out of 10 for likelihood. This just won't, I feel, will be featured because with the 3 games featured in Italy, the Napoli versus Juventus game is probably the most strongest shout, but this, in all honesty, could actually be the next best shout. But there's still way too many strong games this week, and I feel this game will just be overlooked as a result. Benfica versus Porto, a real strong shout this week. This hasn't actually been featured yet, for what I've gathered, I think. And if they haven't featured, then this has a very, very strong shout of featuring. One play from both teams, of Benfica and Porto, 11 from the league, 5 rares, 5 Portuguese players at least, I think, minimum they'll try and emphasise. I've got 6 in this case, and 79 overall rating. They might not make it as high, but I think that would be about the rating they might go for. 6 to 8k for cost, maybe even push to 10k to be honest, and I'm saying a 7 out of 10 for likelihood. I really fancy this route to happen. That's kind of one of my shouts for the week. Second good shout of the week is the low rated option, as it were, of Göteborg versus Malmo, or Gothenburg Malmo, whatever you want to call them. Allsvenskan, 11 players, 5 Swedish players minimum, might even go 11 because there's so many Swedish players you can go for. 5 clubs, 67 overall rating, at least a minimum, maybe even 65. 35k for cost and reward, and a 7 out of 10 for likelihood. You get a silver players pack as a reward. This is deemed the biggest game in Norway, and Malmo are the defending champions, if I've got it right, and or one of the top, Malmo are up there with AIK and Göteborg, so it's a big game in all honesty. Bohemians versus St Pat's isn't going to be featured, I feel, because we've just had St Patrick's Day, we've had route was last week, a couple of weeks ago, sorry, and they will not want to kind of bog us down with another St Patrick's basically Irish League route. But this is one of the big games in Ireland. One player from both teams, 11 from the league, 5 to 6 Republic of Ireland players, 5 clubs, 68 overall, 2 to 4k for cost, 3 4k reward, and a 3 out of 10 for likelihood. Just won't be featured this week, sadly, despite being a respectable sized game in Ireland. Another decent game in Ireland. Funnily enough, next week there is what's deemed 4 derbies in Ireland next week. When you look at your fixtures, if you look at fixtures and look at the Irish derbies, this is apparently deemed all derbies for next week, so it's quite interesting. But Galway and Sligo, you'd have 1 from both teams, 11 from the league. It's kind of same requirements again, but it would be 60 overall rated, probably most likely, not 59. I would just need to swap in one of the Wexfords or the left mid and just put a higher rated and I'd be sorry. So it's not too bad, and it's an option that is not likely to happen, I'm afraid. Liverpool Everton's another strong shout. This is the Merseyside derby. It's one of the biggest games in the country, and I would say this is my third shout of the week. Liverpool and Everton, 1 player from both teams, 11 from the league, 6 clubs, 5 nations. Maybe even an emphasis on English players as well would make it interesting. So like your Danny Ings, Nathaniel Kleins might suddenly prove useful, and also maybe even other options like that. But 80 overall, 7 to 10k for cost. It's quite expensive, also a little bit more due to the Premier League SBC. 6 to 8k for rewards, you'd maybe get like a gold players pack, and a 7 out of 10 for likelihood. So it's a good shout for this week. Then Arsenal Man City is the alternative. I don't think this will happen, mainly because Liverpool Everton are happening, so that is your strong shout. 11 from the Premier League, 6 clubs, 5 nations. They might focus on the French or Spanish as an option. 80 overall rating, 7 to 10k for cost. It's quite expensive. 6 to 8k for reward, and a 6 out of 10 for likelihood. But I would imagine you would have most of these players already in your club packed, so that cost is hopefully a little bit less. But remember, if you've not done, if you're not got most of these players, and if you've been not, if you're trying to do the Premier League SBC, then these players will be a little bit expensive. Monaco versus PSG is another of my favourite shouts of the week. I fancy this because it is the Coupe de la Ligue final, so I would say this could happen, although this game is getting played on a Sunday. But you would need 1 from both teams, 11 from the league, 6 rare players at least, 5 nations, maybe even an emphasis on French players. So if in that case I have thrown in 7 French players just to cover my back. 78 overall, 6 to 9, maybe even push to 10k for cost. Reward is 6 to 8k, would be a good reward I think they'll give you for this, and a 7 out of 10 for likelihood. This is my 4th and final shout of the week. Napoli versus Juventus is another good shout for the week. I would say if this happens, it would be obviously because it's first versus third in the league. You'd need 1 from both teams, 11 from the league, 5, 6 rare players, maybe even so many clubs, so many nations. Might put an emphasis on Italian players. 79 overall, 6 to 8k for cost, 4 to 6k for reward, and a 6 out of 10 for likelihood. Do I see the shoot happening? No, but I would actually feel like it could happen because it is a big game in Italy, but between 2 of the top sides in the respective countries, so it has a very good shout. And the last route of the week is Ajax versus Feyenoord. This is in all honesty my next big shout if I had like a 5th shout to go for, and also Napoli and Juventus is my other big shout. But Ajax and Feyenoord is 1 from both teams, 11 from the league, 5 Netherlands players at least minimum, 73 overall. They might even push this to like 75 to be honest, so keep that in mind. I'm saying 73 just now, but I think they could easily push this to a 75, 5 to 7k for cost, 3 to 5k reward, and a 7 out of 10 for likelihood. If they ask for 75, then the bronzes you can easily put up to silvers just to cover your back, or you could even make 2 of the bronzes like 1 gold, and you'd be well and truly covered. But as I said, my 4 main shouts for the week are Ajax Feyenoord is my outside shout, then Monaco PSG, Liverpool Everton, Goldberg Malmo, and then we're going over to the Portuguese League. I hope you find this useful. As always, remember to smash likes, would be awesome. Let me know in the comments down below what your routes are for this week. Sub to the channel if you're new, and I will catch you all later.